Hi everyone, it's Louis here from Louis Tutorials, and today's topic is all about outsourcing. Now, if you've got small projects, large projects, you've probably thought about outsourcing with oDesk or Elance or Freelancer, and there's various others out there, but they're probably the three main ones. And I want to talk about the pros and the cons of outsourcing. It could be very beneficial to outsource when it comes to, say, smaller projects. For example, you want to get some graphics stuff done, some Photoshop stuff done, any sort of media projects, like let's say you wanted to get an explainer video done. With these sort of things, my experience has been quite positive. I've never really had many problems with that type of outsourcing. And it ends up being much cheaper. I mean, I'm in Australia, and to get a explainer video of good quality here, you're probably looking at about maybe $800, $1,000, $1,500, where on using oDesk, I've managed to get some of them for $400 to $500. So it's come in very handy in that sense. Here's where things get really tricky. If you had a large scale project that you wanted to do, I would highly recommend being very careful using these sites like oDesk and Elance and Freelancer. In the last 2 years myself, I've probably lost in excess of about $10,000 to $15,000. And without seeming like I'm racist here, they've all been with Indian developers. And before I get a barrage of comments on this video telling me that I don't know what I'm on about, well, I'm the one that's got the lighter pocket, and I'm the one that's gone through all the issues. One of the projects I had was went on for about a year with back and forth, and in the end I lost a lot of money, and it was all due to a lot of miscommunication. What they usually do, and the Indian companies, whether they're independent, especially the agencies, they're renowned for it. When you basically get approached by them, they will promise you the earth. They always appoint a project manager to look after you, and they bend over backwards for you in the very beginning. And mind you, it's always really interesting because they always speak perfect English. They're very suave, they're very charming, and they reel you in. They really do. And that's what happened to me on more than one occasion. I got suckered in about 3 times. The last one being the most expensive for me. And you get to speak to the project manager on a daily basis to begin with, and then it becomes every couple of days, then it becomes once a week, once a month if you're lucky, and then you start pulling your hair out because you can't get in contact with them, because obviously they're out trying to reel in someone else. That's their job. Their job isn't really being a project manager. They tell you that they'll check through all the work to make sure that it's up to scratch and that everything is going well with your project. Not the case. Then you end up dealing with the developer whose English is probably maybe 30%, there as far as their capability of speaking English, and the communication problems start to arise. So what happens with these projects, that unless you are so like every tiny little detail of the project has to be itemized. And mind you, I've even done that. I've even done video tutorials of what I want in my project. So they've got it on video, not just written format, because with written stuff and diagrams and things can be misconstrued. Things can be very easily miscommunicated in this sort of form. So I even went one step further and did it by video. And then it was back and forth, have a look at that part on the video, this is what you haven't done. But still managed to run into problems. One major example was the website that I had a huge database, had a lot of different modules, a lot of different features, and I did the stupid thing of assumed that this would have an admin panel. Which huge database-driven website doesn't have an admin panel? They told me, no, that wasn't part of your specification, and you need to pay extra for that. So it just became extra and extra. But then when we finally got to starting to test all the different sections of the website that they did, I was starting to find that none of them worked. It was all like everything was in shambles. So it was quite a nightmare, I have to say. Not only was it an emotional roller coaster, they're all the way over there, I'm all the way in Australia. It became very expensive and very draining. So the only company that I would recommend, and I've done a review of this company in another video of mine, is ZipTask. If you look them up, they probably are a lot better for a large scale project. I have managed to complete one large project with them, and they were, I think they have a different approach. They pretty much hire a project manager to work with you and you pay them an hourly rate. Could be $30, could be $50, depending on the experience of the actual project manager themselves. But they're at your disposal all the time. I think the longest I went without not having any communication with the developer was probably a couple of days, and that's while he was traveling from one city to another, so he didn't have an internet connection. So overall, outsourcing can be a very positive experience, and I've had my positive experience with it. But as I mentioned, as far as big projects are concerned, I do recommend probably using a company like ZipTask, which I'm in no way associated with, just so you know. I have used them and completed one project with them, and that seemed to be the only large-scale project that I was able to complete. I still highly recommend that if you have no web development skills whatsoever, that you do consult someone first and at least spec out your project to make sure that you haven't forgotten any tiny little detail in the project that you want to develop. So that's my advice when it comes to outsourcing. If you've had any good or bad experiences with outsourcing, please make a comment in this video, and if you like this video, please subscribe, and I hope it's been of some help to you. Bye for now.